This is Elizabeth Baldwin. I'm the Agriculture and Natural Resources Extension Agent in Page County, and I am for the soil because it's the basis of all life here on planet Earth.
Let's get rolling with the April episode of For the Soil, a Conversation. Hello, everybody. I'm Jeff Ishii. Glad to be your host today, and Mary Sketch Bryant will be joining us in just a few moments also. But before we get to our podcast today, and by the way, it's a very special guest. She is a native of Mexico, but she is now an extension agent with Virginia Cooperative Extension working in Northern Virginia, has a significant background in agronomy research, and has a lot of knowledge about soil health, and she'll be joining us in just a few moments. But first of all, a quick reminder about our website, forthesoil.org. And we're going to be making a significant announcement on that website fairly soon. We are in the process of developing a children's coloring book on soil health. Yeah, kids will have fun learning about what soil is, the difference between dirt and soil, and all kinds of different things about that. But that is one of the announcements we'll be making soon on our website, a new coloring book for children on soil health. Let's now get to this week's episode. Welcome, everyone, to For the Soil, a Conversation. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii. Eric Benfelt is taking the week off. He is a very busy man these days, working on his doctorate degree, and we are excusing him from class for the week, if you will. But we'll welcome back, hopefully, Dr. Eric Benfelt. And Mary Sketch Bryant with the Virginia Soil Health Coalition is also co-hosting today. And Mary, we do have a very special guest. Would you do the honors of the introduction?
Yes. We're so honored to have Beth Sastre Flores with us today. Beth is a commercial horticulturist and agriculture and natural resources agent for Virginia Cooperative Extension in Loudoun County. She moved to the U.S. in 1999 from Mexico, where she received her bachelor's of science in agronomy and also has a master's in nutrition and post-harvest physiology. So I'm excited to hear a little more about that. She has years of experience in research and education, specifically related to horticulture, propagation, entomology, fungi microbiology, post-harvest physiology, and much more. So lots of ties to soil health there. So we're so excited to speak with you today, Beth.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with you and share my experiences, and happy to be here.
Beth, you work with Virginia Cooperative Extension. Tell us what you do on a daily basis.
Well, my job is totally different from other jobs. We, as an agent, most of the time we are not sitting on a desk. We go on to farms, we go on to evaluations, we prepare programs, we go to schools. So it's, I cannot tell you today I'm this is the schedule, because every day changes. So that is something that I'm very glad and thankful about because I have the opportunity to do so many things every day. So every day looks totally different for me.
And Beth, I would love to hear more now, and you've been based in Virginia for a while, I believe, but have vast experience in Mexico, working with producers there, with agriculture, plant physiology. And I just would love to hear how you have brought some of what you learned there to the United States and Virginia.
Okay. So, as you already said, I'm from Mexico. I grew up in a very small town. I think the first inspiration for me to become an agronomist was my grandfather, Mino, that's how we call him. He was an agronomist, and he was working for something like would be the equivalent to soil and water conservation here. So he would tell stories about working with the farmers and the agricultural workers, and it was very nice. At the time I was very young. I didn't think really, deep about his words, but I liked it. And then, I went to school, I studied agronomy, and I liked it. And an inspiration for me, I think, is Mother Nature. the resilience that it has, even though we mistreat her, is able to, come back and be healthy. And now I think, we need more, we need help. We need to help her. When I was there, I finished my degree, and then I started working for two federal governments, one federal and one state government, directly with farmers. And I saw how, affected the way they were because of not enough education and resources. And at that time, I think I didn't know about soil health, but I knew they were doing the best they could. Then I did my master's, and I started working with farmers with another level of education and resources. So you start comparing, how our practices are directly impacting our environment, in this case, our soil. And I think the second inspiration, the third big inspiration, was a video that I saw a long time ago about kiss the soil. Kiss the soil, kiss the ground, I think. Oh my God, it was a short one. I don't know when that was launched for the first time. I already knew about soil health, but that one was directed for not the farmers, not the agricultural workers, but for everybody else. And I said, this is great. And I remember feeling goosebumps when I saw the first time that video. So one of the things that I think is different, or maybe a little bit different from other agents that I do, is I work very close with kids from high school, FFA. And since, I don't remember, like 7 years ago, the teachers started asking me to do other talks. I usually do the pesticide safety for them. And then they asked me, hey, do you have something about soil? And I said, of course. So I started doing that. And I think I found a way to make most of the kids, aware of what is happening with our soil, how we are treating it, and not just, on the farming side, but also, like a homeowner. It's not the effect of one side, but everybody together. So having, I think it's a bless, the opportunity to teach kids at that age about soil health is great. I had another experience that was very cool as well. I work with farmers, and there is a farm, Potomac vegetable farm. I work with them very close. At that time, they have a preschool, and the teacher invited me, and she said, Beth, I want you to come and talk about soil health with the kids. And I said, oh, for the kids, preschool, this is a little bit different that the way we teach. We usually work with young adults, but with little kids, my kids are 20 and 17, and, you forget how to really engage the kids and help them to learn something new. So I brought a big picture of the rhizosphere of the soil. Oh my God, because it was so colorful, they were looking at that. And then I brought my magnified lenses, and we were looking at each part of the graphic and talking about that. And I taught them new words. And then after that, we went and dig in the soil and brought the soil to the table, and we started looking under the hand lens as well, and finding, different insects. Most of them were worms, but, for them it was like, wow. So it was a very engaging experience that I really loved. And then the same teacher invited me last year to do another one for middle schoolers. And it was like a 50-something middle schoolers. And I said, oh my God, how I'm going to get the attention? And she said, 45 minutes or an hour. And I said, this is too long to keep engaged kids that are in middle school, that have a lot of energy, and that have been, this school I don't remember exactly the name, but specializes on education outdoors. So most of the classes they have are outdoors. So I started thinking how I gonna teach them. And well, Mary, thank you for the classes that you have given us and trained. So I said, okay, so I'm gonna have to have different activities. And I had the activity, well, I gave them a shovel. They dig out a little bit of soil from different places. I gave them the hand lens. They look at it. Some of them were dead. Some of them were half dead, and some of them went alike. So there were different groups, the same activity for each group, and they will give us talk about what they are seeing. I also did the one for the apple, where you see how much soil in the world we have, which was very revealing. And, teachers were like, wow, this is great. And I also did the texture aggregates with the Cheerios. So the kids were like, oh my God, this is so cool. And, it's opening for them in a different way, because, one thing is that what you listen and what you see on TV or videos, but then doing it, that was very cool for the kids.
Beth, we've got about 5 minutes remaining or so in the podcast today. And I'd like for, in the remaining time that we have, if you could talk a little bit about soil testing. We're now in the spring, and there's a lot of gardening activities. Of course, farming will be cranking up very soon. And can you talk a little bit about the process of having a soil test done, whether it's in your backyard for your raised bed vegetable garden, or if you're in an apple orchard in Frederick County, or maybe if you're a row crop farmer in the Northern Neck area? Can you talk about the importance of soil testing?
Yes. So the principle of soil testing is to know what nutrients the soil needs based on the crop that we are going to establish, or the grass, or the vegetables, whatever you want to do. It's like a blood work for us. So we need to know exactly how much we're going to put, because the soil is not going to be absorbing or breaking down all the nutrients that we put in the soil. So we need to know exactly how much the soil needs. It depends of many things, but before applying any nutrients, that's what we need to do. I know that right now is very heavily advertised, fertilize your lawn. If it is a cold season lawn, this is not the time to fertilizer. You can do a soil test, but it's not recommended to apply any nutrients right now if it is a cold season grass. For farmers, they do that every 3 years, and it depends. We have different considerations based on the type of crop that they are going to be growing. For perennial crops, usually we do it at 2 different depths. The type of soil has a lot to do on how we take the soil samples. If this is an annual crop, mostly the depth is 1, and it's going to be like 8 inches, about 8 inches. And as I said, for both of them, it depends on the type of soil. The type of soils that we have can be found on the NRCS website. And especially this is more for farmers. And based on the type of soils that the property has, is how they are going to be doing the soil sampling and putting samples in one box based on the soil, the topography, and other variants that should be considered. After the soil test, you all can get the soil kit from Virginia Cooperative Extension office. Any county, every county has a VCE office, so I'll call them, reach out to them, and we have soil kits for homeowners and also soil kits for farmers. I always said, when you have the form, when you look at the form, there are 3 things that will be measured, and one is the regular test, which includes all the minerals or nutrients and pH and salts and CC. Then we have another one that is organic matter, and that's, part of our soil health. And then we have the other one that is going to be salt, content of salt. So I would say, for farmers, every 3 years, check those, because it's important to see how your soil is improving based on the practices that you are following. And then for homeowners also, if you want to have a healthy plant, the most important part is to have a healthy soil. So is it time to do your soil testing before applying any fertilizer or adjusting the pH?
And I know, Beth, we're right out of time here, but I guess just my last question for you would be, as we're here in the springtime, if you would have one resource or recommendation, specifically, I know your expertise is in horticulture, to a backyard gardener coming into the extension office looking for tips for their spring garden in the soil health, what would be one tip you would give?
Well, I will say, we have volunteers, master gardeners, volunteers. They are the ones that are going to be helping all homeowners on any problems that they have on their gardens. And they are great. They have received a training from experts, Virginia Tech and other institutions. So reach out to, if you're a homeowner, please reach out to your Virginia Cooperative Extension master gardeners volunteers.
Very good resource. The Master Gardeners with Cooperative Extension, to my knowledge, their services are free. Is that correct?
That is correct. Most of our programs from Virginia Cooperative Extension, the majority are free. There are some that we charge, but for Master Gardeners programs and all the services that they do, they are free. With exception, we have one that is Healthy Virginia Lawns, and that is, of course, about soil health. And every office charges different, but it may not be more than $37.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast today, Beth. And people can contact you through the website for Virginia Cooperative Extension for Loudoun County. And there they will find your contact information. And once again, we want to thank you for being on the podcast today. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Mary. Have a good day.
Thank you, Beth.
For the Soil, a Conversation is made possible with funding support from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and the Agua Fund. Other partners include the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia State University, Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, and partners of the Virginia Soil Health Coalition. Views expressed on this podcast are those of each individual guest. To download a copy of this or any other episode, visit the website forthesoil.org. And if you have a specific question about soil health, contact your local extension office, your local USDA service center, or a Soil and Water Conservation District office. Music used during today's program was provided courtesy of the Flip Charts. All rights reserved. For the Soil, a Conversation is produced by On the Farm Radio in collaboration with Virginia Tech. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii.